Hello and welcome to Sincerely Elvis Presley. I'm Sean. If you're new to the channel, thanks for tuning in, and if you're not, thanks for returning. I appreciate it. Before I start, I just want to say a big hello to two very special people who've been supporting this channel right from the very outset, and I know that they tune in each and every week, and I really do appreciate their support. So Val and Bob, love you. Okay, so 1971, a year that often gets overlooked in Elvis's career. It's certainly overlooked as when it comes to the 70s. It's a year where it kind of lacks the big milestones that come before it and after it. So 1970, you get That's the Way It Is. 1972, you get Elvis on Tour. 1973, you get Aloha from Hawaii. 1971 hasn't really got any milestone that big. It's one of those years that's almost, if you were going to be disparaging about it, it's kind of rinse and repeat of what happened in 1970. 2 seasons in Vegas, touring, another recording session at Studio B in Nashville. So a lot of things that categorise 1970 also categorise 1971, although to a lesser extent, I think, in terms of the recording at Studio B. I think even the most ardent of us fans would agree that the recording sessions in 1971 don't actually recapture the highs of 1970. Not to say they don't produce great material, but I don't think they're quite as a landmark recording session as the 1970 Nashville Marathon. It's a strange one, really, because when you look at Elvis live during the 70s, it's usually reasonably easy to date what you're looking at, certainly years-wise. 1969 is very obvious from the two-piece tunics in black, navy and white. 70, you start off with the bits of brocade down the front. There's the rope Cossack suit, and then when we get to On Tour and Summer Season, you've got the fringe jumpsuit, the concha, the chain jump. They're very, very easy to date. Early 1971 is kind of where the jumpsuits start getting a little bit more elaborate. There's more, if you like, decoration, embellishment, rhinestones appearing. If you look at photographs of Elvis on stage from early 1971, they're fairly easy to date because he starts wearing what's known as the Cisco Kid jumpsuits that are primarily black with like coloured bits at the top, and you'll see in some of the books they're really easy to date. You've got the one with the turquoise big stones going across it, known as the Elvis Now jumpsuit because it's on the cover of that album. But when you get to the end of 1970, it gets a bit harder because the jumpsuits Elvis is wearing by the end of, 1971. When you get to the end of 1971, the jumpsuits Elvis starts wearing are pretty much the jumpsuits that go into 1972, and the jumpsuits that last through and past Elvis on Tour. So those shows towards the end of 1971 can be quite hard to date visually because they could quite easily be 1972, and you'll see what I mean when we look at some of the photographs in the books that feature 71. So yeah, it's a bit of a lost year in some ways. In I guess the only thing that happens really that hasn't happened before in Elvis's career is the Colonel, is infinite wisdom, decides that 2 seasons locking Elvis into multiple shows in Vegas isn't quite enough. So he's got the Sahara Tejo in Vegas, the Sahara Hotel, Del Webb's Sahara Tejo. He locks him into a season there as well, and that starts. So that happens in the August, and then straight from that back into Vegas. So unfortunately for Elvis, that treadmill gets ever more demanding from 71 onwards. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the books. There's not a great deal of books that focus solely on 71. I'm going to start with volume 6 of the Elvis Files, and all we're going to do is look at the 71 section. of this, so we're not going to go into 72. And to give you an idea of how you know, how little there is to say about 71, and again, I don't want that to sound disparaging because I don't mean it that way, but just by comparison, that's 1971 in this book, and this book runs 71 to 73, so a 3-year period, and that's your 1971. So you can see that there's, you know, it's kind of lacking, I guess, what I said, the milestones. But let's start at the beginning. Right at the beginning, Elvis starts on a real high, January the 16th, and he receives his award as one of the 10 outstanding young men in America at the Jaycees. So we get Elvis attending in his glorious velvet attire. A very, very proud moment for him. I believe he carried that award round with him pretty much for the rest of his life. So yeah, very proud to be honoured on that occasion. Got quite a few photographs from there. And of course, that's where the famous speech he gives about without a song, a man ain't got a friend, that he borrows from a song lyric. There we go. So that's what I was talking about. There's the what's known as the Cisco Kid outfits, and you see Elvis starts wearing his international award belt as part of his stage attire. But yeah, you've got a series of these jumpsuits. You've got red, blue, green, sort of yokes at the top, and then sort of elaborate arrangements down the legs. So they're quite easy to date for 71. And I've got a particular fondness for the 71 season because I'm lucky enough to have 2 really nice condition. I've got the opening season menu that diners were given on the tables, and I've got the summer season menu as well. I managed to get those in really nice condition. So there's some more photographs. I'll show you quite a lot of this one because that's what I was talking about. That's the, I don't know if it's known as the turquoise concha suit, but it's also known as the Elvis Now suit. Very, very identifiable as a 1971 suit. Still, I think, relatively plain. You know, you've only got the sort of sweep coming down and the sweep down the legs. There's more of the Cisco Kid suits. I've spoken about the Elvis Files books before. They really are top quality. You can't go wrong with them. March 15th, recording at Studio B, Nashville. We'll get onto that next episode when we look at some of the recordings available from 71. Nice candids. Elvis looking super cool. April 23rd. What we got? We got Caesar's Palace, Elvis with Tom Jones show. And then we've got May the 15th, 1971, back in Studio B, Nashville, recording. There's some shots of Elvis outside the studio or entering the studio. Nice little write-up from Disc Magazine, 1971. Exclusive eyewitness report of a Presley session. That's a really good read. But yeah, session details coming in there. Elvis, his Hillcrest Drive, Beverly Hills, California home, leaving on one of his bikes. Yeah, really great candids. I think if I remember rightly, there were some fans waiting outside, so he sort of popped out of the sunroof of his limo and signed autographs for them. Imagine that. Brilliant. There we go. This is July the 20th to the August the 2nd, so a bit earlier than I said before, at the Sahara Tejo. So yeah, Colonel locking Elvis into another punishing season of dates, really. But yeah. There's not many photographs really from the Sahara Tejo, and what there is are quite usually quite grainy audience photographs. So you get loads of professional photographs from Vegas, but not so many from this. And you can see here what I mean. You know, this is usually the kind of shots you see. There is actually a book specifically, a fan book about the Sahara Tejo, and I will get to that in a later video, because it's got a little bit of this season, but most of it is about the later seasons there. But yeah, that's an interesting one. So you see, I don't know if you can pick that one up. I always thought what you get here, Elvis pulls out it's the concha suit that he wore in '70 during the filming of That's the Way It Is, and on tour then. But he sort of marries that with the gold award belt, and in this case, a gorilla mask that he wore on stage. For whether that got thrown up from the audience or what, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was a bit of a mishmash. It almost feels, when I see some of these photographs from the Sahara Tejo, that he kind of just pulled whatever was about in his wardrobe, and you know, it just seems to grab anything and wear it. It's a mishmash of his outfits, because look, he's got that gorilla mask again, but there we've got the in fact that's an even different outfit. You can see there, that's the concha suit again with the, yeah, it seems as though he had more fun and was able to mess around a bit more at the Sahara Tejo, because there we are, by August the 9th to September the 6th, he's back in Las Vegas for his second season of that year. You know, you can see why, being there time and time again, as much as he loved performing for his fans, how he must have got bored just being on that treadmill. But this is probably the excitement and the novelty of it starts fading off a little bit, I guess, as time goes on for him. There's that suit again. Yeah, so Elvis Files 71, and then we get a few more shots in Vegas. We get Elvis in October the 21st, 1971 at the Brentwood Laboratories. This was when there was Patricia Parker filed a paternity suit against him, and he was ordered to give a blood sample. So I captured some photographs of him going to give his blood sample for a paternity suit that was later thrown out. And there we go, Elvis on tour, and there you see he starts wearing the outfits there that would carry on into 72, and that's what I meant by it becomes more difficult to sort of date this period, because he's got the same jumpsuits on that he'd wear into the next year, and you can see how much more elaborate they've become by then. Lots of heavy jewels and rhinestones and what have you. So yeah, that's the Elvis Files on 1971. I think that's just about it. A couple more pages, and then I think we get into 72. Yeah, so the last we've got is November the 27th, 71. Elvis had been having eye problems, so went to see a specialist. And that's the last photographs we've got. And it's interesting there how he starts wearing like the draped jackets of the British teddy boys. And he sort of picks them up and starts wearing them in 71. So there we go. There's the Elvis Files on 71. And then what I've got here is a nice little book by Joseph Tunzi and Paul Lichter called Elvis by Special Request 71 at 40. And this talks about basically that, I think they call it the Lost Tour, the tour that takes place at the end of 1971. Yeah, okay. They call it the Lost Tour, and it's, you know, continuing that theme of almost 1971 being, if you like, a forgotten year in terms of Elvis's career. And yeah, basically you get lots of photographs from the dates on that particular tour towards the end of 1971. One of the most famous gigs here being in Boston, in the Boston Garden, which I think is featured, where you get Elvis in his black jumpsuit. There we go. And great shots from that. I've got a book to show next that features just that particular show. But yeah, there's some great pictures from the Boston Garden. So yeah, this is a nice little record, this. I think this is one of those titles that's still relatively easy to pick up. And gives you a nice little record of that particular tour, with heavy emphasis on that Boston show, which was November the 10th, 1971. Documented in quite a few places, quite a few recordings available of the Boston Garden show, I believe. At least 5 labels or more have put out releases of that particular show. We move on to Dallas Evening Show. Yeah, you can see what I mean by the jumpsuits. It can be quite tricky to get a handle on a date sometimes. And certainly for me on the 1971 shows, because he just looks so similar in those to how he would continue looking through 72. So there's your 71 at 40 by Special Request. I'm not entirely sure whose special request it was, but obviously it was someone's special request. So there you go. 71 at 40. And then, as I was saying, you've got one volume dedicated solely to the Boston Garden, November the 10th, 1971. This is one of the Eric Lawrenson photo folios, and after the one I showed that had the first season in 1970 that I was a bit disappointed with, I have to say this one is a lot better. It's a very good volume indeed, this one. And I think I've said before, I love a book that can manage to just focus on one show, and just the whole book is dedicated to one show. I think it's fantastic. And he looks so good at this show. It's a shame to me, really, that he didn't wear black jumpsuits more often, because I just think they just look stunning. I think they you know, give a certain depth, and there's something about how they look in photographs that you don't get with the lighter jumpsuits. They just seem to pop that bit better. But yeah, absolutely lovely. Boston Garden, November the 10th, 1971. Just fabulous. I think some of these could probably do with being a bit clearer, but I imagine a lot of them are the result of that's how the photographs were. There's possibly only so much you can do to up the clarity and definition on them. But yeah, I really like this. I think it's a really, you know, as I said, that one the 71 where I said the print quality is poor, that doesn't hold true of this. This is not, this, you know, some of the graininess and blurriness is down to the photographs themselves, not the level of print quality. So I've got No issues with this one at all. Definitely give this a hearty recommendation. Brilliant record. So there's your Boston Garden. Look at that. Awesome. If you can see it through the glare, that is. And we will finish 1971 in terms of books on the ever fantastic Kieran Davis. So this looks at the same tour that the 71 at 40 looked at. This is the 50th anniversary edition. This came out previously by Kieran as his first volume, Elvis at the International, did, and then he brought out a 50th anniversary edition, which pretty much doubled plus the size of the book. So if you're gonna get a version, get the 50th anniversary, because this is an absolute stormer. Highly, highly recommend. You've seen me show some of Kieran's books before, so you'll know that what you're getting is a very, very packed visual representation of anything and everything to do with those particular tours, and this one's no exception. Pulls out the jumpsuits that were worn, and you get to see them, you know, in isolation, and then Elvis wearing them. Get all your fabulous, fabulous detail and artifacts. Just brilliant. So yeah, as this is concentrating on that same tour, get the same period. So in terms of recommendations, were I only to go for one book that looked at this particular tour, this would be it. It's considerably more detailed than the Tunzi and Lichter one, that's for absolute certain. And you do get a lot of the Boston Garden shots within this as well, but the level of detail is way in excess of the other one. So, you know, if I wasn't the sort of absolute, I grab everything I can about with these kind of books, then if I was just going to get one, this would be it, without question. It's just get so much more in this one. Yeah, highly recommend it. Not sure if you can still get this one, to be perfectly honest, but it will come. If you can't get it new still, it will come up time to time, and if you haven't got it, yeah, get it. I've had some viewers recently in the comments point out how much I've cost them in terms of recommendations for going off and getting the books that they've seen, and I have to apologise for that. I certainly didn't mean to have an adverse effect on anyone's bank account, but you know, it is really rewarding to me to think that if I'm able to show these and people think, oh, I'd really like to get hold of that, I just think that's great. That's really what I'd kind of hoped this channel would do, and it kind of justifies my approach that I don't want to show every single page, because hopefully those people that have gone off and got themselves copies have opened them up and found lots of new things that that are new to their eyes, because there's nothing quite like that feeling of picking something up and seeing it for the first time. So I'm glad that I have had comments of people saying that they think that the balance is probably about right, and to give a feel for the books without showing everything is probably the right approach for me. So yeah, I appreciate the people that have put in the comments that that's what they think, because it is helpful. It is helpful to know what approach to take, really. So I do thank you for that. So there we go. What a fabulous, fabulous book. Kieran Davis does it again. Just the way this is put together. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And of course, when you get these, you are getting very limited, runs. This, it's self-published, Kieran Davis. It's not through a particular publisher or anything. So they can be reasonably costly, but I don't think excessively so. To actually publish a book yourself is not a cheap thing to do, and certainly not with all the work and effort that's gone into this. I just think they're worth every penny that's charged. Yeah, just fabulous, brilliant, wonderful stuff. Highly recommended. So there we go. What do we finish with? Oh, green scarf as worn in Cincinnati, November. See, you even end with details of the scarves that were, that were worn. Obviously, I presume that's sweat stains on that. Got another one there. Got a black scarf as worn in Salt Lake City. So Salt Lake City is the final date on this tour, November the 16th, 1971. So we start in the Jaycees in January and we finish in Salt Lake City in November 1971. Elvis's sweat stains are clear to see on this scarf. Yes, they certainly are. So, that's what I'm talking about, the level of detail. And there's your final. What was coming soon then? I'm not sure what was coming soon because it doesn't tell us. I think it was, yeah. So the next book Kieran did after this was the Summer Festival 1972. So that's what. But that kind of emphasises my point. You got that photograph. Now that's potentially 72, but because of the suits being worn, it's hard to pick them out. But yeah, if you can get it, get it. Absolutely brilliant. To me, the best book that singles out a tour in 1971. In fact, as I said, I've only got 3 books that solely focus on 71, and of course the Elvis Files has got some of 71 and the other 2 years as well. But it was just the one. This one would be it because it's brilliant. So there's 1971 in terms of publications dedicated to that year. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope that was enjoyable. If it was enjoyable, please give us a click on the like, and if you haven't already, please do click on subscribe. It really does help this channel. It's free, there's no commitment. I upload new material every Sunday at 6 PM GMT, so you're always going to know when to find me. Next time, let's move on to look at some of the recordings and some of the releases that came out in 1971. Until then, take care. Ta-da.
We'll meet you again. God bless you. Adios.